Hello friends, welcome back. Today I want to talk a little bit about character design and how I draw a character from zero pretty much. And in the meantime, I'll also show you how I draw the human figure. I thought a lot about how I wanted to approach this video. At first I wanted to make just a simple how to draw bodies, but since for me it's an entire process that comes together. Like sometimes when I draw bodies, I start implementing different elements for the character while it comes in my head. So I'm gonna film myself drawing a character. In the meantime, I'll explain to you my thinking process. And I'll also show you my technique for drawing different poses and positions for a character. So I hope you guys enjoy. My approach to drawing a character is very simple, focusing on ovals and curves. Let me show you some examples on a couple finished sketches so you get the idea. Kind of a reverse look at it before I start drawing. One of the main things I want to avoid in my drawings is the character looking too stiff and robotic. The thing that helped me the most is taking advantage of curves and round shapes. I like to imagine the movement / the pose of the whole character as a curve over multiple curvy lines, as you can see here. This helps you to have, first of all, a bigger picture of the character in front of your eyes, and it gives you a general idea of that pose. Personally, I avoid boxy shapes because, as I said, it makes my character look too rigid and kinda lifeless, so I prefer ovals and little blobs if I want to create a structure. Now, this is just one way to do it. Many artists are fine drawing different boxy shapes and go really in depth creating kind of a whole mannequin for their character, and sometimes I do if I'm dealing with a very complex pose I cannot visualize, but for the most part I use round shapes and I create them as I draw. So let me show you. For this artwork today, I want to draw a profile, maybe an alien girl from outer space or a fairy with a fun outfit. Let's see. I usually start from the head because it guides me for the rest of the pose. If you missed it, I have a recent video up on my channel where I explain how I draw heads, but if you already watched it, you'll see how ovals dominate in my artworks, even when I draw the body figure. I changed the perspective of the head by drawing the eyes curved towards the top. This gives the illusion of the head being slightly tilted back. I am now adding the neck, and I'll show you how to connect it to the ribcage by implementing these oval shapes into the artwork. At this stage, it is very helpful to flip the canvas around to check proportions. So the line flows from the back of the neck and goes around to form the ribcage. And I'm also going to add 2 more ovals for the shoulders. As you can see, the ribcage doesn't have to be completely straight. The oval is slightly tilted because our spine, of course, isn't a straight, precise line. It has a little bit of a curve. So by drawing your oval slightly tilted, the spine will have that natural curve and it will be very easy to connect it to the legs, as you'll see me do in a second. At this point, I can also draw some indications for where the ribcage will end, and the approach to the legs, it's pretty much the same. As you can see, I am drawing a big, elongated oval, and I stop right at the knee. For the leg behind, I simply pretend the front one is transparent, and I use the same approach, drawing the entire oval shape, and then I erase the lines that should be hidden behind the front leg. It's way easier to do it instead of explaining it. You might wonder why I don't make an initial structure for the pose, and there's a simple reason for that. I change my mind way too often when I draw. Yes, I obviously start with an idea. In this case, I knew I wanted to make a profile and try to stick to it for the sake of the tutorial. So I like to develop the pose as I go instead of planning it. Clearly, that's just the way my brain works, but if you feel more comfortable giving yourself guidelines beforehand, it's completely fine. I just want to show you my real, raw process without faking steps that I normally wouldn't even use in my art. As you can see here, I already drew the character with heels because I knew she would wear heels, so I shaped the foot for that. At this point of the artwork, I already had an idea for the entire outfit, so while I shaped the body, I had things here and there. I understand that if you're just starting out, it might be harder for you to visualize a pose and the shape it should have. So my suggestion is to take it slow, make very light strokes with your hand to build up your lines. Some artists who prefer to draw a structure for their artwork like to do their sketches in layers. For example, an initial super messy layer sketch to lay down the idea, then lower the opacity and start to draw a clean sketch above it, and so on. If you've seen my previous sketching videos, both ASMR uncut or speed paints, you probably noticed already that I never take that approach. I like to make my sketches as clean as possible and on a single layer only, for two different reasons. Number one, I simply prefer working on a clean canvas because I often change the pose of the character I'm drawing, and having too many layers at that stage makes it inconvenient for me, slowing down the process. And number two, if I need to send a sketch to a client, it has to be as clean as possible for them to understand the shapes, and as I said above, if the drawing needs multiple revisions, it really becomes a pain. That's just an example of how much a process can change from artist to artist, and there's no perfect, supreme way to do it. When I started with art, I was surrounded by an enormous amount of information, and I'm sure you are too. People and even teachers telling me you should do this, you should do that, and that confused me more than anything. That's why I don't like to call art techniques quote-unquote rules, because to me the real nature of creating something from your own hands is that there are no rules. Otherwise, what's the point? You need to express yourself, not someone else's idea. Even this tutorial, take it as me showing you my way of doing things and pick inspiration and ideas here and there. And if there's something you think would work for you, implement that in your drawings. So, while I was blabbing, I started drawing the outfit. As I said at the beginning, the character we're drawing today is an alien girl. So I put her in this futuristic bodysuit with these very long, flowy sleeves, and I tried to make them look like the fabric is very, very light. I also added some little details here and there, like the seams at the side of the bodysuit and a little gemstone at the center of her chest. And now I start working on the face. My characters are always influenced by sci-fi because I just love that. I love everything related to science and astronomy. That really reflects on my art. Your vibe might be different, but it doesn't really matter because the concept of coming up with a compelling, fun character is the same, no matter the theme. Let your art be influenced by the things you love and enjoy the most. Reading or watching movies is a fantastic way to expand that mental database of ideas, but also let your hand run free on the canvas. Don't be afraid to add details right when they pop into your head. You can always erase later. It's good to start with a general idea for the character, like who's this person, what do they like? Are they human? Are they a villain? Or think of their personality traits. So when you sketch, you'll define a general vibe, facial expressions, poses, etc. But when you get to this final stage of the artwork, overthinking really doesn't serve you at all. It can actually hold you back. For example, here, I didn't really have a facial expression in mind when I started this artwork, and I went with the flow. Same thing goes with the hair. I started drawing long hair, but I came up with the hairstyle as I was doing it. Just let your hand go and do its thing. You can really go crazy with her and add a bunch of interesting elements. I decided to keep it simple and go for a little braid on the side, as I want the dress and her sleeves, her long flowy sleeves, to be the main focus of this artwork. I will also change the ears now and make them pointy, because honestly she was looking more like a fairy than an alien, and the little thingies on her forehead that I cannot for the life of me remember the English word for, and I am too lazy to look it up. Maybe it's antennas? Antennas? Antlers? Please comment the correct word down below. I'm gonna add some shiny sparkly details on her boots and make it look like they're kinda blending onto the leg. I'm also going to add any final detail I want to polish and also erase some of the guidelines I don't want to show through. This is the perfect moment to step back and really look at your drawing from every perspective. Flip the canvas to check proportions. If you're drawing on paper, an old trick is to flip your artwork and place it on a window to see through it. Your eyes at this point might not find any anatomy mistakes because they're too used to look at the same drawing for a long time. So you can definitely set it aside and look at it the next day with fresh eyes. And let me tell you, I spot a lot of mistakes in my art that my brain couldn't really see at this point. For this same purpose, I always fill my sketches in a light gray. This will separate the subject from the white background, allowing you to really see the silhouette of the character better. In the next weeks, I will definitely post more uncut ASMR sketching videos, even traditional pencil sketches, because I know you guys enjoy those and probably fall asleep to them, just as I do with other artists' ASMR videos. So you'll have the chance to see me draw different poses and maybe follow along. So I really hope you enjoyed this one. I hope you find inspiration for your art and maybe implement some of the techniques I showed you in your own artworks. If you create anything using my brushes, my tutorials, please tag me on Instagram if you happen to post it, because I would really love to see your art. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you next Sunday. Bye!